And what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. I'm your host, Pat Deneen, alongside the associate yet again. And we're back for a special edition, which we did not plan on doing, just ask the associate. But we said, hey, when in Rome, there's just so much pro wrestling going on. Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, right? Got the name right.
Mhm.
And this is looking to be a pretty good card, Kev. I mean, I've been keeping my ear to the ground with everything going on. It is much like NXT Stand and Deliver. It's a 7-match card. However, all 7 of these matches are for a championship, which is a big deal. Most of them are Ring of Honor championships. I believe one of them are a AAA championship, mega championship on the line of Vikingo, which we'll get to in a little bit. He had an amazing match with Kenny Omega last week, which we haven't spoke on because we haven't spoke about AEW in quite some time since earlier in the month. But nonetheless, it's taking place Friday night in Los Angeles, California, of course, at the Galen Center. Again, I know there's so much wrestling going on. I know we're both on the fence as much as we do tune in from time to time to Ring of Honor. There will be SmackDown going on. There will be the Hall of Fame following that. And I believe even Rampage is back to its regularly scheduled time. So there's just a lot of pro wrestling going on unto itself. But again, 7 championships on the line here. And it's looking to be damn good. So without further ado, we're going to jump into this in just a minute. Why don't we take it back for just 2 seconds? You know, I love going and talking a little memory lane here.
Right.
The night before WrestleMania 35, and I know I've mentioned this on a previous podcast, you were exhausted that weekend. Lucky for me, I was able to watch WrestleMania 35 the next day from the comfort of my own home. But the night prior to that, you know, Kev took me to my first NXT show. He took me to my first Ring of Honor / New Japan show, the G1 Supercard back in 2019. Dude, I can't believe that was 4 years ago already. That was an
Yeah.
awesome card. That was, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was a 12 or 13 match card, which it was lengthy, but we had great seats. We saw some great matches, and we weren't, you know, I wasn't opposed to any of it. But the interesting tidbit is, you know, this G1 Supercard that you were kind enough to take me to, this was about 3 months, give or take, since the announcement of All Elite Wrestling. They had the whole big thing in Jacksonville, right? So it was all new. They ended up launching officially later that year, and you know, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Hangman Page. These were all people that were supposed to originally be on this card, right? As far as I believe you had told me going into it, because you were much more privy to everything going on with Ring of Honor and New Japan than I was at the time. And
Yeah.
due to the fact of them committing and being EVPs, with the exception of Hangman Adam Page, they could not do this show. They were already part of All Elite Wrestling, even though they weren't doing weekly programming just yet. So um, this was a big deal not having them, but nonetheless, this was awesome. And I just want to run through a couple of matches real quick, but uh, you know, just give me your feeling going into it. Did you purchase the tickets before knowing that these guys weren't going to be on the card, or did you already know full well that hey, look, uh, a lot of these superstars, the elite, aren't going to be there?
To be honest, I don't even remember um when when I actually got those tickets because I know for Mania, I got them sometime in September. There was so much going on with the Elite because of of their YouTube program of BTE
Hmm.
and some different things. We had we had uh All In, right? And then it seemed like after All In, like these guys were kind of like tired out. We didn't know what was going on. We found out that their contracts were ending in New Japan and all this. So, yeah, and then eventually, what in January, we found out that they were forming a company or whatever. So I really don't remember, to be honest, if I bought them um, ahead of time or not. But I I just know that regardless, the card itself was amazing.
And
Had they been on the card, it would have definitely enhanced it, but regardless, with them not even being there, it was such a good night of wrestling.
the show was an A without question. It would have been an obvious A plus had all those 5, 6 guys been there. And the interesting thing
Mm,
about this is, like you said, All In was August 2018 or early September 2018. The announcement of AEW was in January of 2019. And in the midst of all that, November, when we went to Queens, New York, that's when we got to meet all them. You met Omega, I met the Elite and stuff like that separately. And we had heard rumblings that there's something big on the horizon. Remember, like thing you could just feel it in the air. Like we heard rumors online and at the convention and stuff like that. That hey, what's the status of them? Where are they going? Are they, some were thinking, are they going to WWE, or because nobody knew about AEW at the time. They're not going back to Ring of Honor, or what's the deal with their status? Are they going? They're leaving Japan. What's going on with Bullet Club? And again, there was so much
There was
swirling, and it's
a lot of
there
yeah,
was all kinds of stuff going on. And the coolest thing was we were there to kind of be in the midst of like this transitional period, even though we didn't sit and have a meeting with them. It was just they were in this state that they knew a lot more than we knew, but they couldn't say anything yet because this was 2 months prior to the announcement of AEW. But just
right.
how cool to be a part of that whole time of uncertainty. You know what I mean? Is what I'm getting at. As a wrestling fan, it's super cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah, absolutely. When we're able to be, kind of kept in the dark of like super big news that's gonna happen, and I don't want to use this phrase, but I guess I will. Is that like it was revolutionary? That
it's a new
what
company.
yeah, 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 and at the time, people were like, "No way that this is gonna happen." Once it did happen, people were like, "No way, this is gonna be sustainable. It's gonna fall apart immediately," and it hasn't. Like, yes, it has its ups and downs, but I mean, just look at WWE. It still has
Yeah.
its ups and downs, being a billion-dollar company as well. And that's kind of just the nature of pro wrestling, where you have a lot of, I guess, egos, um,
Well,
in all trades, in all trades of life. But hey, it was a really cool time to be a wrestling fan when all
yeah.
that was going down.
And the other thing is, like you said, how is that sustainable? A lot of people look to, and he's done a damn good job in his career as a wrestler and behind the scenes, Jeff Jarrett, right? Say what you want about him. A lot of people look at, oh, TNA, what a over time, even though they had a lot of stars that went through there, what a failure. They could never level up or measure up to the likes of WWE at all, or say what you want. Not my words, collectively the community. Um, the biggest thing was, okay, if the elite or whomever are going to do something big or possibly start their own company, who's going to financially back it? Little did we know it would be backed by another billionaire. I mean, it's hard to gain that trust. People call Tony Khan or whatever fanboy. I get that with all the hugs at press conferences, say what you want about him, but somebody that had the belief and the vision to do this. Tony Khan and Cody got this jump started, and then of course the Bucks and Omega helped in different ways as EVPs and stuff like that. But nobody thought it was realistic because who's going to take that risk? And we're only not even 4 years in. Again, people say what they want about AEW. It's certainly far from perfect. But what is, right? Obviously, the mystique of WWE is hard to touch. I mean, WrestleMania, come on, WrestleMania weekend. It is the Super Bowl of pro wrestling, right? But AEW, in my opinion, all in all, has done a damn good job. And we're gonna get to this predictions in just a minute here. But I want to touch upon that. And in late 18, 20, early 2019, what an exciting time it was leading into the G1 Supercard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of those matches, Kev, I'm not going to run them all off here, but that 30-man Battle Royale, Kenny King eliminated Jushin Thunder Liger for a future Ring of Honor World Championship. Our buddy Jeff Cobb, who we've seen at a few House of Hardcore shows a couple years prior to that, he had defeated Will Ospreay here for the Never Openweight Championship and the ROH World TV title. It was a winner-take-all. That was the first time I had seen Roosh, who's now in AEW. You had introduced me to him. I didn't know about him. He defeated Dalton Castle. Excuse me. We saw the likes of Flip Gordon, Dragon Lee, the newest signing to NXT, who I see winning that North American Championship, right? He was in a three-way match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight, where he had won this match. We
Yeah,
had that tag team match where we saw, remember, unbeknownst to the Gorillas of Destiny, Enzo and Cass were there. It was almost a real altercation from the crowd. That was pretty
right.
wild. That was a winner-take-all four-way tag team match for the IWGP Tag Team Championships, where Gorillas of Destiny, I believe, won in that match. The Briscoes were in that match, by the way. R.I.P. Jay Briscoe. The
Mm,
caliber of talent on this card. I know it was a joint thing between New Japan and Ring of Honor, but all that, like you said, without the likes of the elite predominantly being there, is just I can't even fathom how much better this show could have been. You know what I mean?
right. And we had all the top tier guys of of New Japan. We got to see what is it? Um, Okada. We got to see Jay
Yeah.
White. We saw Naito.
That was the main event. Dude, when I
Yeah,
look at the times of these matches too, Okada defeated Jay White and the match went almost 33 minutes. The match prior to that, the crazy three-way ladder match for the ROH championship was a half hour. Just those two matches alone were over an hour. Matt Taven defeated Jay Lethal, the champion at the time, and Marty Scurll. Kota
right.
Ibushi, Naito, right? He defeated Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. And then lastly, Zack Sabre. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi by submission for the British Heavyweight Championship. That even went just over 15 minutes, and the Ibushi match was 20. So, dude, the last four matches unto itself was an hour 45 minutes, pretty much. And this was a 12-13 match card. So, in short, I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciated you bringing me to that. And anything in Madison Square Garden is epic, but getting to see this, and again, not to be morbid at all, but the passing of Jay Briscoe, he was there. And a match I didn't even get to mention, one of the first match, the 6-woman tag match, she was on the losing end, but Hana Kimura, right? That's how you pronounce her name. A couple years ago,
Yeah,
unfortunately, passed away, very young age. So you don't at the time we knew it was epic, but even myself being introduced to all this, it was a lot to digest all at once. Looking back at it, man, it's like, wow, I didn't even know the presence of caliber of talent I was in front of.
right. Yeah, it's crazy as wrestling fans. Like, yeah, we know the big names, but we never really consider like who's going to be a megastar, and it just ends up crazy things happen. Where you're like, wow, I actually got to see this wrestler, in an early stage of the wrestling career. It's pretty spectacular when you put it from that perspective. Like, man, we got to see so many great talents, and it only helps us as like the wrestling community is like getting to see so many different wrestlers from outside of like the United States. It's
Yeah.
always good to be introduced to international talent.
And I thank you for that because I've always been open-minded as a wrestling fan. Obviously, I grew up, since I was 2 watching WWF. Much like yourself, you watched WWF got us all into the game pretty much initially, at least. But I like the
Mhm.
fact that you, as well as myself, as much as we may favor WWE at times, we're open-minded. Like, and that's all I could ask the diehard WWE fans is, look, you can call WWE the greatest all you want. I get it. They have Mania, the Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, so on. Some of the top names of the industry ever. I get that, but the open-minded nature of just going out and enjoying another promotion, Ring of Honor, New Japan, All Japan, AEW, and so on. Even Impact, they could probably fit 100 people in wherever they are now. I think I don't know if they're still in Nashville or Florida or what, but regardless, there's just so much talent out there, and I just, like to tell people to enjoy wrestling as a whole because you never know. These guys a year or two from now could be in WWE and you're cheering for them more than ever. I mean, a lot of people badmouth a guy in AEW. Oh, Cody sucks. He's terrible. He's, what's he trying to do? Be a revolutionary? And now he's in the main event of WrestleMania going up against Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Championships. And now a large majority of these people, not you, but, are going, oh, Cody this, Cody that. First one's buying the merch. And it's like, bro, you were just bad mouthing him not even a year ago. And oh, what is he doing with the Young Bucks over there and stuff? And now everybody, oh, he's back to WWE, so he's good now. And he was originally with
Yeah,
WWE. I get that.
yeah. It feels like a lot of diehard, pure purists of just WWE fans tend to either forget or not consider the fact that like the vast majority of the talent that you're watching live in front of you, they've already put in the work somewhere else, whether it be
Right.
indies or in a major promotion uh, in another country. They've already put in the work, and yeah, one of their biggest goals is being in the WWE, but that's not where they master their craft. They did that elsewhere. Like a Kevin Owens, a Sami Zayn, like they were ROH guys.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
some point. The same thing with an Adam Cole, Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to say. Just a lot of these guys, Seth Rollins, all these big time people that are in WWE
Tyler
that
Black.
you're
Yeah.
like, oh, a lot of people are like, yeah, they're WWE guys, but it's like, no, they're actually not.
Yeah.
They were elsewhere
A lot
before.
of these guys, like you said, it's very rare occasion, maybe more so now. It's becoming a thing, but they don't just show up to the performance center one day and say, "Hey, I want to be a pro wrestler." You do have certain cases like that. Sometimes maybe they came over from another sport, maybe football or whether it's the NFL or D1 college, whatever, and they show up there
Mhm.
and they make it work. Obviously, they have the next in line program, the NIL, right, for WWE coming into the performance center as a college athlete. Whether it's volleyball or softball or whatever, basketball, and they come in there and then they try to make their way into pro wrestling. They know they're athletic, so it's a good starting ground, right? Especially most of them are D1, but more times than not, that's not the case. Like you said, a lot of these people made their name on the indies and then filtered their way in. But hey, all that being said, let's get to these picks here. I know me and you could go on for days about that. All we ask is that, wrestling fans as a whole, especially the quote unquote strict WWE universe, just be open minded. That's all. There's so much more to enjoy out there outside of WWE. You could still enjoy that too. So
Yeah.
just want to put this out there for everybody. We did this on a whim. Everything else for my weekend was planned. NXT Stand and Deliver, WrestleMania picks. But I will say that last minute, me and Kevin discussed, and I kind of was like, hey, Kev, why not? So we're going to go make these picks on the fly. We didn't really look into this much. We knew who was on the card, but we didn't really have a stance. So we are picking these on the fly. We're going to start with this, Kev. We're going to start in honor of Jay Briscoe. They have to relinquish the tag titles, obviously, to his untimely passing mid-January in the car accident.
Mhm.
They're having a reach for the Sky Ladder match for the vacant Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. We have the Lucha Brothers. We have Top Flight, the Kingdom, Aussie Open. And, I always tend to flub it, so I'm going to let you say the faction for Roosh and Dralistico. What's the name of their
Uh,
faction?
Los Ingobernables. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
But
La Facción Ingobernables. That's how
Topix.
they're referring to it now.
Mm.
So we got those five teams. We got those five teams in this matchup. Who do you see coming out, the new tag team champions for Ring of Honor?
And I really don't want to dwell on this too long. I have like who I think should be the champs, but who I would like want them to be. But I'm gonna go with the easy answer. Just go with the Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
Um, but because realistically, I would like to see young talent, get their moment. And I would have said, Top Flight,
Yeah.
right? But I see the Lucha Brothers winning that one.
All right. To be honest with you, I would love to see the Lucha Brothers win, and my dark horse kind of is Top Flight. Um, Two teams I would love to see win, but I am going to go with Old Faithful here, and I am going to go with the Kingdom. I'm going to go with the Kingdom, who's had quite a career in Ring of Honor, right? So
Mhm.
Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. I think that would be nice for them to really establish themselves yet again in Ring of Honor, respectively so. And even though they're on AEW every now and again too with Maria Kanellis, I'm going to go with the Kingdom. Next up, we have the six-man tag team match for the Ring of Honor six-man tag team championships. Um, right? That's the name of these titles. I'm not too familiar with them. I just know the embassy holds them. Brian Cage and company going up against AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik. Now, Metalik is Grand Metalik, right, from WWE.
Yeah.
I know Blake Christian spent some time in NXT last year. And of course, we all know AR Fox. He usually teams up with the Top Flight for those trios matches on AEW television. He's amazing. Signed with them in the early fall. Anyway, all that being said, who do you got?
I have the Embassy retaining.
Okay, me too. We're moving forward here. Match three. Now we have a singles matchup for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. We have Samoa Joe, who you see on my T-shirt right here. Samoa Joe here holding the NXT Championship. But in this match, Ring of Honor World TV title going up against Mark Briscoe.
And
I
I
know this is a tough
I'm not
one. I agree with you. I know what you're thinking too.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I initially just thought that the Samoa Joe was just gonna take it, but
Yeah,
considering that they
everything
are
emotionally going into this. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a big
I
one.
think they're gonna end up. I think they're gonna end up changing the title. The title will change hands and it will end up going to Briscoe.
I agree with you too. Typically against any other opponent, especially with Samoa Joe losing the AEW TNT Championship recently to Wardlow, right? Just at the most recent pay-per-view a month ago, Revolution, where Wardlow held that for a cup of coffee and then lost to Powerhouse Hobbs. But anyway, Samoa Joe typically would retain, but yeah, Mark Briscoe, being that he has to relinquish his tag titles, being that his brother's no longer here, he had to vacate that. We will have new tag team champions. He'll only ever, like we agreed on the prior episode, 13 time, keep it at that. It's probably the last time he's going to see tag gold in general, and I think that's the way it should be. If he's not tagging with his brother Jay Briscoe, that's the way it's got to be, and he's just going to have to get used to having a singles career, and that's that. But anyway, I think the right thing to do, the right call here is whether he holds this title for 1 week, 1 month. Mark Briscoe, this is uh, an honorary show of Jay Briscoe, really is, you know. So I think the right decision is for Mark Briscoe to win this TV title. It would mean a lot, it would mean a lot because Jay was the single star in this group, and being that he has to unfortunately vacate these titles and can't really defend them, I think the best thing is don't leave him empty-handed, and that's pretty much your thought process here, right? It's tugging at our
Yeah.
heartstrings here, and I think that you got to go with Mark Briscoe. So that's final answer for that. Okay, so far only one difference of opinion. Match number one for the tag titles. Match four, we have a singles match for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. We have Athena versus Yuka Sakazaki. Is that how you say it?
Sure.
Sure, we'll go with that. All right, that's all we need. So who do you got here?
I'm gonna say that Athena ends up retaining.
Was that you have Athena retaining?
Yeah, yeah. I don't see her losing.
Okay, yeah, I have Athena retaining as well. It's early on in her reign. We haven't. She may have defended it. Maybe on an episode of Ring of Honor Weekly on a Thursday. I don't recall any
Mhm.
of her title defenses. She's been champion for a couple months now since their pay-per-view back in December, right? Was that when she had won it? Or she won it on a regular
Man.
episode of AEW. I forget, against Mercedes Martinez. It was that one. Final battle, right?
Oh man, there's so many shows. I'm not even
Yeah,
not
I
even.
agree.
Yeah, I'm not positive.
All right. Well,
But
I'm right there with you.
yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I don't know. I think she has to face some like fiercer competition before she loses that title.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Yuka, she's an OG in the game, right? I mean, she's been around for quite some time. So it's more of like I guess for like NXT, it's kind of like Roxanne Perez a couple weeks ago, a Miko Satomura match, right? It's that
Mhm.
type of deal where you're going up against a legendary wrestler. It's a notable match, but they're still going to come out victorious. So Athena's going to win, in my opinion. Match number 5 of 7, we have a pure wrestling rules match for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. We have the Kevin's best friend Wheeler Yuta, the Blackpool Combat Club, going up against Shibata. Now, I know Wheeler Yuta has been very big on wanting to go up against Shibata, and that's exactly what he's going to get. So do you see him retaining, or do you think Shibata gets it done?
This is a tough one. Um,
Yeah, I mean, Shibata
just
has
because
one hell of a comeback story here, right? From a head
yeah,
injury it was a few years back.
hmm man, because I could see him, taking that title back to Japan.
Hmm.
Um, but considering what they're doing right now with like you know, the Blackpool Combat Club, I don't know. I honestly don't even think they need titles to be honest. So I'm gonna give this one to Shibata.
Okay. Yeah, this is a tough one, Kev. I got to be honest with you. I was easily going to say Wheeler Yuta will retain here, but he doesn't need the title. I mean,
Yeah.
and Blackpool Combat Club, they're obviously they're so AEW heavy right now, but obviously
Mhm.
Claudio is the Ring of Honor World Champion as well, so they're just as relevant and important on Ring of Honor TV. So that's interesting to note. I'm gonna go with Yuta retaining. I'm gonna go with a safe choice. I see Wheeler Yuta retaining, but would not be surprised if Shibata gets it done. Um,
Yeah.
that's for sure. I think this is gonna be one of those matches where this is big on Yuta's resume for getting the win over him, although it's not gonna be easy. He might even cheat because they're heels now. But even though you can't in a pure rules match, but hey, maybe the ref won't see it. Just gonna throw that out there. But I do think Yuta will retain. Match number 6, we saw the amazing was it El Hijo del Vikingo? Got that right? Going up
Sure.
against Commander. Now, Commander is one of the newest signings to AEW, right? We saw him for the first time last month. I heard WWE was even interested in him. Um, but this is for
Mhm.
Vikingo's AAA Mega Championship. I'm going to go with Vikingo retaining, but it will be a very enjoyable and fun match to watch between him and Commander.
Yeah, um, for sure. And I hate to piggyback off of your answer, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna give that one to Kingo. It was a name I heard definitely throughout the pandemic, but I never had the opportunity to like look into his matches.
Okay.
And then and then as you know, what this past weekend, well, the past week on Dynamite, we got to see him, bring down the house with Omega.
It's a very
So
good
for
match.
me, yeah, yeah, it might end up being one of the best matches of the year. Um, uh, you know, a non pay per view, non what is it, premium live event
I can see
that
it.
we were able to watch.
Hey, that was
Um,
Kenny Omega's 22nd five-star match, by the way. Thank
yeah,
compliments of
yeah,
Meltzer for those who care.
yeah, yeah, for those who do care, yeah, they call him the best bout machine for a reason.
Yeah. All right. So you're going with Vikingo here.
Yeah.
Retaining, yeah. So do I. So do I. I don't think he's losing. But it's going to be a fun match. Probably the most. I mean, the latter match will be a lot of fun too. But this could easily be the most exciting match as well as this Vikingo Commander match. All right. This is the seventh and final match of the night. This is for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Now I heard this is what 15 years in the making. Claudio Castagnoli, formerly known as Cesaro, going up against Eddie Kingston. Now there's real life disdain between the two, right? Or more so, at least with Kingston and Claudio. Never been a fan. Eddie Kingston always liked Moxley, but he doesn't really care for the Blackpool Combat Club as a whole. Heard he's not crazy about Danielson, certainly not Claudio. I have Claudio retaining here. Um, Although I think this will be a very good match. Not saying it's impossible for Kingston to get one over, but I just don't see it right now. I see a lot of heel momentum, much like I'm picking Wheeler Yuta. I see Claudio retaining as well.
Up until a few hours ago, I would have definitely said, um, it was definitely going to be, um,
Claudio?
yeah, Claudio just retaining the title. But
Okay.
I don't know, the last few minutes, for whatever reason, I feel like I'm actually considering Kingston.
Really?
Um,
Wow. Okay.
but the man hasn't had gold in I don't know how long. So I feel like this might be.
This might be the
I don't
time,
know if
huh?
it would be. Yeah, and I don't know if, and I don't want to say this like in a negative way. I don't know if this would be like, um, Tony Khan trying to throw him a bone or something, but we can see what becomes of ROH while Kingston is champion. So
Okay.
I feel
Uh,
I feel like I'm leaning that way right now.
I'm not opposed to Kingston. That's a very interesting pick. So Kingston's your final answer there. I think Kingston's going to
Yeah,
lay a beating on Claudio. I do, but I think Claudio's going to come out on top. I really do think so. But I could see it. I could see that happening, and that would be a very interesting call. Very unexpected call, as far as I'm concerned. All right, so that's Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor going on this Friday night. And before we get out of here, Kev, a few AEW notes. All right, a few AEW notes. I'd be remiss not to mention on Dynamite this past week. Return of Adam Cole. He's been out for 9 months. After prior to that, he had only been out not even a month throughout his career. Right, it's been a very lengthy career for him. But we had spoke prior to the show that I said, look, he's wearing the black and gold trunks. It kind of reminded me of his Undisputed Era days, NXT Black and Gold, where he had a lot of incredible moments same weekend as Stand and Deliver, all these beautiful things. And you said, hey, that could be so, but I think it's more so because of his significant other, Britt Baker, Britsburg, as they call it. She's from Pittsburgh, so I get it, black and yellow,
yeah.
uh, and stuff like that. But did you happen to catch any of AEW All Access following Dynamite this past Wednesday?
I was able to catch a few minutes of it here and there. I wasn't able
Yeah.
to sit
Well,
down and
well, I did hear
watch
you were
watch.
changing all the. You had a little bit of an issue. You were changing all the smoke alarms at once in your house, so I could see why you missed it. That was during that, right?
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I know that they were kind of going over his time dealing with his head trauma.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, and they of course they say you only have one brain. You got to protect it as best as possible in life. Um. And the dangers of pro wrestling we know. they can result in career-ending injury, life-ending and life-ending injuries.
Hmm.
Um, it was good to see no him, finally wrestle again. But watching that, you know, the all access of like his struggles of like really contemplating, being worried, anxiety, paranoid. You're like, am I gonna have the same? Am I gonna be a wrestler? Am I gonna have like the same life again?
Sure,
Um,
sure. It's scary
it
stuff.
was, it made for compelling television, I will say.
And it's all real. At the end of that match where he defeated, not talking about All Access, but at the end of Dynamite when he defeated Daniel Garcia, obviously Britt Baker came down to the ring, gave him a big hug, very emotional moment between the two, and just all the fans in general, all those that love pro wrestling. And Adam Cole followed his journey, especially the last year since Forbidden Door. When he got the concussion, it was his second concussion, they said, in a 3-week time span. He got it during that match with Jay White at Forbidden Door. So, great to see him. There was a lot of streamers coming down there, though, man. They could barely walk in the ring. Did you see that when
Yeah,
they shot all that confetti
it,
and stuff?
if anything, I don't think the streamers were necessary. Hey, having Britt come out and hug her significant other, I'm fine with that. But the streamers
It was a bit much.
felt out of place. Well, yeah, it
Yeah,
felt out of place for me. It wasn't as if he had won a title or
sure.
anything. It just felt very out of place. But I know that that's TK's
Well, he
big
meant
couple.
well.
Like he loves.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. They
Uh,
won the Owen Hart Foundation tournament last May, right?
so I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, a nice little moment. Um, we'll see how things progress.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, for Adam himself, for Britt, and kind of being the spearhead of the division,
Hmm.
even like at the champion. We'll see how things go along.
And for those, who didn't tune into the introductory episode of AEW All Access following Dynamite 10 to 11 p.m., I think it's slated for 6 to 8 episodes, right? I would definitely tune in. For those who haven't seen it, I would definitely tune in. If you're a wrestling fan, obviously it's a little bit of a reality show type of deal too, but it is very insightful. I enjoyed the first episode, the Young Bucks talking about AEW All Out and that whole mess and them worried about this, ruining their reputation and their careers going forward, them getting back to the company and practicing in the ring after not being uh, in the company at all for a couple months. And again, Adam Cole, great to see him back. He came back January 11th for that promo, but we haven't seen him wrestle in 9 months. And I can't believe it had been that long since his promo, that 2.5 months since he actually came back for that awesome promo, but hadn't wrestled yet. He wanted to come back for full gear. They weren't going to clear him. That's the tricky part of having a brain injury and stuff like that. So it's been a while, but that was that. A few
Right.
other notes, and we're out of here. What's that?
Oh no, yeah. I just wanted to add to that is that I, uh, I guess so. How do I put this? Is that I appreciate how AEW has taken care of Adam Cole,
Hmm.
right? Um, given what we saw happen to um, what is it, Tua in the NFL,
Yeah.
with his head trauma. Um, I'm hoping, as as we've gone along throughout the years of pro wrestling, they've gotten better with how they deal with certain injuries, especially like we said, head trauma. That's why we you don't really see like the steel chair to the head anymore. It still happens, but not nowhere near as harsh as it was,
Yeah.
uh, within the last 20 years or so.
It's not
Um,
Mick Foley headshots here,
right,
type of stuff
Mick
like that.
Foley, or even like a Eddie Guerrero taking a headshot,
Right.
or a JBL. Like those were some vicious shots.
Yeah.
So yeah, just props to like wrestling in general, like them taking, the concussion protocol very serious.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that will translate to all sports, especially the NFL, because I know that we NFL players are seen in a certain type of way. Um, you know, if you're injured, they want to see you still play, and that's not just from a fan perspective. That's from like your teammates, the coaches, the organization. Hope things get better where if someone's injured, that you're able to take care of them first.
That should be the first priority. And the tricky thing with a lot of these brain injuries too, you know, even though you may be cleared eventually for the short term, you just really never know the long term side effects. You know what I mean? That's the tricky part. Even Kyle O'Reilly how was talking to Adam Cole in the ring, like during this whole process of the All Access show, saying, you know, there's many times he had gotten surgery, he couldn't even move his arm, and he's like, dude, is this? I mean, it's not a head injury, but I'm saying there's many things where you're
Right.
like, is this it? Like, how is this going to affect not only my career going forward, but my life in general, my daily livelihood?
Yeah. And I'm just going to throw this into this mix, and I know it's going to be totally out of your realm, but just so people are aware of it, um, a few months ago, I think it was December. It was a while ago,
Hmm.
but there was a streamer event on Twitch where they were doing chess boxing. They would box one round, play chess the other round, or whatever. And I know that these aren't professional fighters. These are these are amateur, below amateur. They're novice, literally just streamers, like people who would be on YouTube. Imagine if you got a bunch
It
of
could be us.
people
It
who
could be
do,
us, right?
yes, it
Realistically,
could
yeah,
be us. It
yeah,
could be people who are doing like wrestling content. Pick them out and then make them start boxing each other.
sure.
And anyways, the thing was that, like, not even weeks, but just a few days afterwards, a lot of the streamers had reported that, like, that the head trauma was like affecting their lives immediately. Um, you know, still having like headaches, being not being able to sleep at night. Like, that's what happens with concussions. It's not just like a boo boo to the head. It's like this thing lasts a long time. The effects can take a toll on you. So it's just always just something to be aware of and very conscious of. Like the effects of a concussion can last more than like 6 months or so.
So, Kev, in regards to AEW All Access, one other thing I wanted to talk about: Ty Conti now goes by the name of Ty Mello, right?
Mm,
She was set for a huge babyface run, apparently. Tony Khan saw her as a huge babyface, which she was for quite a while. Her and Anna Jay, before they both decided to turn heel. Obviously, Ty turned heel before Anna Jay, who ended up joining the Anna JAS, as they call her now, alongside her. Anyway, they had to change up Ty Mello's plans because once she joined Sammy Guevara on television, you know, right before they got married, they were booed big time as heels, you know, for months. They were despised. And then they had to change the course of action for her. They had to immediately make her a heel going into the summer and All Out. You know, those two went up against Kingston and Ruby Soho. That's where Ruby sustained that broken nose, right, during that opening match and stuff like that. So I think that really hurt her because I think that really hurt Ty because she's kind of been non-existent since that heel run with Sammy inadvertently when the fans turned on them or turned on her. She's kind of been irrelevant, right? Wouldn't you say? Like as far as the women's division's concerned, I'm not saying she would have been holding a championship by now, but she really hasn't been in the mix, I guess you could say.
yeah. Um, it's a big reason why I wasn't a fan of uh, the whole JAS uh ordeal, just because I feel like it killed the momentum of a Ty Mello, and Anna Jay. I'm not really sure what it did for anyone besides, I'll be honest,
Garcia.
Jericho and Garcia. It
Yeah.
that's
That's it.
it only benefited. That's it. Those two. Everyone else, it felt like, yeah, they were behind the gimmick of it, but it didn't help them character wise or wrestling in ring ability wise. So it put a real damper to Time Mello. It sucks, and it I'm sure, especially Sammy, he sees a lot of potential in her. Tony Khan sees a lot of potential in her, but right now, um, if they're gonna keep her off TV, I guess it's better off to just kind of write her off of JAS,
Sure.
if she comes back in a few months or so. Once all the heat is kind of cooled off, just not have her to be really associated with Sammy on TV. Have her do her own thing so that she can progress her character.
Yeah.
Um, in some other fashion. I don't know if she wants to kind of go back to like the Brazilian jiu-jitsu kind of deal or the judo thing. I don't know
That we saw in
how she wants to
NXT
portray.
a couple years ago in
Yeah,
NXT. That was her gimmick.
I don't know how she wants to portray herself on TV.
Yeah.
Um, we'll just have to see what happens. But for the meantime, I think it's best that like the whole JS. I haven't been a fan of it whatsoever.
The Jericho Appreciation Society, as you're alluding to, it really hasn't benefited much. Daniel Garcia, it has. Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, either way, it's a toss-up. Honestly, you could say it's kept them relevant, but they haven't really progressed. But they haven't faltered either. They haven't fell by the wayside. I think they were going to be where they were going to be regardless. But it certainly doesn't hurt them being next to Jericho, because they can talk and they're pretty good wrestlers, but they're very good on the mic. Jake Hager is there by default. He was there with Jericho in the inner circle, and they're like, yeah, just, carry along with Jericho in this. And I think that's what happened with Sammy, too, and Tay Mello once they turned heels officially, unexpectedly, because I don't think they were, certainly Sammy, I don't think they were part of the plan as far as going back, Sammy going back with Jericho yet again, just like Hager, right? Inner Circle and that Jericho Appreciation Society. I feel like those two specifically got lumped in with him because they're like, hey, you know what? If they're going to be hated and treated like heels, then why not put them in the heel stable? And then Anna Jay with the Dark Order's uncertainty, which we're going to get to in a minute, the Dark Order's uncertainty, and them being best friends, they kind of just said, well, if we're going to kind of disband the Dark Order for the most part, why not just have these two best friends be together? Why not add another woman in the faction? Maybe that will help ease them both into being heels after being baby faces. And I think that's how it kind of happened.
Mhm.
But again, I'm not a big fan of that group either. It's like, why do we have like 10 people out here? It's not doing much for them at all, right?
Yeah.
And the Dark Order, this is pretty humorous because we spoke about this 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Kev was expecting them to disband. It's just Evil Uno. Hangman needs to get away from them. Um, it's just Alex Reynolds, John Silver. What do we see right after Revolution? We see Hangman helping them again. Stu Grayson gets re-signed after a year and a half. He looks great, by the way. You might as well bring
Yeah.
back. You might as well bring back 10 and Anna Jay at this point because it's outside of number 5. I forget his name. Alan Angels, who's on Impact Wrestling now. It seems
Yeah.
like the group might as well get back together because it
Yeah.
looks like they're not going
Colt, bring
anywhere.
back Colt as well. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I was saying bring back Colt.
Yeah, yeah. Why not? Yeah, Colt Cabana. Where's he at? He's strictly Ring of Honor now, right?
I don't know, but
Who
it's
the hell knows?
and I say break up. Um, I was saying to break up the Dark Order to move progress forward with Hangman's character and all that. And I say
Hmm.
this as a person who I guess always watches um BT. I've been watching BT probably since 20, I don't know, 20, maybe late 2017 or mid 2017, right?
Damn, it's a long time.
So
When did that show start? When did they start doing that on YouTube? Like 15,
I
16?
I think 2015 or 2016.
Okay.
So so I'm familiar with all like the storylines of like of the history of Hangman with the Dark Order. I'm not oblivious to that. If anyone thought that, but the thing is that like that storytelling is taking forever, and that's the problem with AEW at times is that they take forever to pull the triggers for some things.
Hmm.
For like certain storylines or whatever. And my problem was just like, okay, if we're never gonna reach this point, we might as well just like forget it and just start doing new things. And of course, the moment I say that is when they decide to like, hey, you know what? Let's tie all these loose ends. Let's have Dark Order be with uh and and Hangman kind of reunite with the Elite.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now you guys, the moment I say you guys should nix it is the time that they bring it all together. I just found it very humorous, and I was just
Yeah,
like,
well, it
well,
was. I was.
because it was a very similar situation to when I was talking about the House of Black, where we were just like, what's going on with the House of Black? Or is Murphy going to join? Is he going to be a part of it? Because it was just like it was just Malachi and
Brody
King,
King.
right?
Yeah.
Brody. And then we were just like, is Julia ever gonna do it? Like for months she had the black eye, but they were doing nothing with her
That dragged
actual
out a
character.
long, long time. That took forever.
So and I'm pretty sure out at the night that she turned, I said, I think they need to break this up, just move along, just go. And the
And
same thing happened with
the
this whole Dark Order
Stu
Elite
Grayson. Yeah.
Hangman
Yeah.
situation. I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. But
Hmm. It's funny. It's
at
worth to mention.
least it's humorous, yeah. So at least they're moving on with it, you know. Um, and that's all I can really say about it is that like finally the wheels are starting to roll because uh, I know that they want there's these certain storylines to pay off for fans, but we can only be so emotionally invested into something before we're just like, all right, let's change the pace, let's move on to something else,
Right.
and that's where I was at that.
Let's call it a day on that. Look, Bryan Danielson
Yeah,
comes back. It looks like he's coming back to the aid of Kenny Omega while the Blackpool Combat Club are about to pounce on Omega. He holds them all off, running knee. Bryan Danielson officially turns heel. The entirety of Blackpool Combat Club, all four of them are heels. How do you feel about this? Because I know also this is another group where you're considering some of the members leaving. It's funny. The Dark Order is getting stronger. The
every time I
the
every time I
Blackpool
say
Combat
someone
Club's
should
getting
break up,
stronger.
they get stronger. I
Yeah,
don't know what it
I'm trying to
is.
remember. You said you would like to see Wheeler probably leave the group sooner than later. Was it Danielson you
Yeah,
wanted to see leave too, and you just wanted to be maybe Claudio and Moxley? Was that who you were
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about, and then maybe adding one more?
hmm
So here
Hey,
you got
at
it.
this, I don't know. It feels like we did speak about AEW kind of having a reset after this last pay per view, and it seems like
Hmm.
they're finally starting to really honor that.
Yeah,
Um, and hey, to hell with it. Maybe we're gonna end up seeing this all culminate to a CM Punk. I don't know, because if you're
uh,
involving the Dark Order, Hangman, Elite, the Blackpool Combat Club, the only thing it feels like that they're missing in this whole shift is Punk. Like, how is he going to tie into the storyline? That's what I'm just throwing that out there.
sure.
Do I think it's possible? I'll give it a less than a 5% chance of happening.
Hmm.
Um, but hey, I said these other things should happen, and they are happening. So I don't know.
By the way,
We'll
that
see.
at the end of that Adam Cole match, right? Sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit. Speaking of the JAS, I thought at the end of Dynamite, I thought Jericho was going to turn on Garcia. I don't know. Did you think that when they were walking up the ramp? It seemed like he was disappointing.
Yeah,
Garcia lost to Cole. Excuse me. The commentary team was so focused on Adam Cole and Jericho not acknowledging Cole, which I think maybe the next program, Jericho and Cole. So be it. I thought Jericho was going to turn on Garcia and like run him into the setup or whatever, the entranceway.
like
That's what it looked
okay.
like. Did you get that inclination?
I got that more so the first time he did the half turnaround rather than the second time.
Okay.
Uh, Once it was the second time, I was just like, okay, no, I don't think he's gonna do it. And then
Hmm.
they're setting up a Jericho versus an Adam Cole
Adam Cole.
down the line.
All right,
So
two
it looks
points.
like we won't. It looks like we won't be seeing that Omega Jericho match, but it is
Yeah,
what it is.
the Winnipeg boys, right? Hey, look, 2 points and we're out of
Mhm.
here. The Outcasts. I gotta say, Soraya may be the actual leader of the Outcasts, but I'm gonna tell you what, man. Ever since Ruby Soho joined them earlier in the month, she, in my opinion, is the glue to this group. When Soraya and Tony were together the last couple of months, I was like, oh, that's cool. Former WWE stars banding together. They're heels now, whatever. Dude, Ruby and her demeanor, like I'm beginning to love Ruby for the first time since WWE. Like I was happy she came to AEW a couple years ago. I was like, oh, good for her. It was more so good for her, whatever. This is a second chance type of deal. But dude, her whole swagger, her demeanor on Dynamite, I love it. And I think she
Well,
is what that group was missing.
well, that's why I asked the last time we did an episode together was is she the leader or not? Because she had cut that promo, and
Hmm.
it felt to me like that promo almost made it feel like she was the de facto leader. But from what we can tell at this point in time, is that Soraya is the quote unquote, you know, as the leader of that little faction. But yeah, it feels like that group really got kicked into high motor once
Big time. I think it's fair to say Saray is
Ruby, yeah.
responsible. Saraya is responsible for this group being a thing, the Outcasts. Kudos to Saraya, but Ruby Soho is the reason why this group could excel with gold or not. I think this group has the potential of maybe winning the championship and even the TBS at some point. Like they could definitely hold both titles. Who's to get it, we'll see. But to be honest with you, at some point in time, I'm not saying they have to be next up. I would love to see Ruby as the TBS champion at some point, and Tony Storm getting that chance at being AEW world champion for the women again without the inaugural title slapped on it.
Let me ask you this, yeah. What what kind of vibes do you get, uh, with them being the quote unquote outsiders? Do you get an NWO feel from that group or no? Because I don't.
No, I
I
don't.
have I have a
So the only reason I would attribute it to that is the whole spray paint thing, which the green spray paint,
right.
which I think they should stop doing that. If you
Okay.
ask me, I think they're at the point now when Tony and Soraya did it the first couple weeks or prior to Ruby. All right, so be
Mhm.
it. You're trying to let people know you're a heel now, and you're
Yeah.
former WWE people here. But I think it's at the point now where they don't need to do that. No, I don't think it's
Mhm.
like the NWO at any point. Just the spray paint. They need to get rid of it. They're good on their own without it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'll just throw this out there where what it's kind of reminding me of, um, and specifically more so like a Ruby, is it feels like it's kind of like a little bit of a shield situation, right? Where I will say that Ruby's kind of playing like that the role of like the wild child where that Dean Ambrose was playing, you know?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
that's reminding me of.
They kind of come up on the apron and stalk their prey, in a very similar way. Like, oh, the outcasts are here. The outcasts have arrived. Yeah, I agree. They kind of have more of like a Shield vibe than some kind of
Mhm.
an NWO or Outsiders bit. That's very
Yeah.
true. All right, last but not least, brother. Look, Jamie Hayter. She has a match next week against Riho. Both baby faces now. I mean, Riho's been a baby face. Jamie Hayter has transitioned to babyface now, along with Britt Baker and company. Um, I love this Jamie Hayter. I mean, I loved her even when she was a heel. She's just so damn dominant, man. She was wiping out people left and right. She was going with such fast momentum. She almost took herself out of the ring rope on Dynamite. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw her momentum almost
Yeah.
carried her into the
Okay.
first row. So obviously she's much stronger than Riho. I do love Riho. So I guess two things. Then we're out of
Mhm.
here. One, how do you feel about them constantly spotlighting Riho? We know she's great. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Riho is. I feel like they're overutilizing her, like we've said about Orange Cassidy. Also,
Mm.
Jamie Hayter. She's there's not many women that could match up with her, size and stature wise. Maybe talent wise, yeah, sure. But who should Jamie Hayter's real next opponent be going forward? And do you think Riho is a little bit, pushed in our faces too much? Like he likes Old Faithful, like Orange Cassidy and stuff like. And by the way, where the
Mm.
hell was this? Again, Orange Cassidy, a successful title defense of the international title now against the Butcher on AEW Dynamite. Every week, where was this push when Pac was the champion? Every week, man. Every week, with the exception of last week when they were in a six-man tag and Sting got the victory. Shout out to
Yeah.
Sting. But I know I just threw a lot at you because we're getting the heck out of here. But um,
Right.
answer it in whatever order you want, man. With the Pac thing, with Jamie's next opponent, and Riho.
I'll just say quick as possible. I don't know what was up with the situation regarding Pac and when he had the championship. In terms of do I feel like Riho is being pushed in our face a lot? Yes, but I don't mind it. I'll give it. I'll put it from the perspective of like um of a Sheeta. Like Sheeta could be pushed in our face, but she isn't. Like there are some of the AEW original, females from the roster that like aren't given enough love. So I feel like this is his way of kind of a little bit of justifying of like of kind of wronging some of those people.
Hmm.
Um, so I like seeing Riho being utilized, and anytime she's in a match, even though she's a great wrestler, she's always like you always end up picking the opponent because they're like the opponent's so much bigger than Riho. But I love watching that the old classic trope of like a David versus Goliath in wrestling. So I think it's going to be a good match. I mean, I feel like I'll give you my answer. I think that Jamie Hayter is going to retain, but regardless, it's going to be a good match.
Okay. And who's Jamie Hayter's next foreseeable opponent that could potentially take the title off of her? And back to Riho real quick. I don't mind them seeing push a Riho and all these certain people, but I feel like they do it in such a like a pocket of 5 or 6 weeks, you'll see Riho, and then another pocket for 5 or 6 weeks, you'll see somebody else, right? But then you won't see them for months on end. But I do understand the standpoint of like Riho or Shida, they go back to Japan or whatever. So I do understand that technical point where they got to make the most of their time in the States. That's where it gets tricky, and I do understand. But it's like the push is so constant, but then you don't see them for a long time, and then it's constant again. So I just wish it flowed more naturally. You know what I mean? It almost comes at certain points where it's like, are these the only 3 or 4 baby faces on your roster? Where it's like, where is everybody else? And then you see, it's like Sky Blue, Willow, Riho, repeat, and then you get Jamie Hayter and Britt that are now faces too, and it's like that's it. But I don't know. Who do you see going up against Jamie
Yeah,
Hayter?
I have zero ideas. I don't know
Okay.
who. Wish I could give you an answer. That's the only one that, like, besides the saying that I don't know what the situation with Pac. I don't know if it had to do anything with his travel or maybe visa or anything.
Mm. That's a
Um,
tricky thing. Could be, yeah. All
or
right.
or it was just that Tony Khan didn't really know how to go about as because that we used to discuss it all the time. I was like, how do you raise the prestige of that title? And it feels like maybe he's starting, the lights starting to click where he's like, okay, like I just gotta defend this title all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Is Taya Valkyrie taking that TBS championship off Jade?
I personally wouldn't mind. That's
Okay.
just my
It's a big signing,
um
big pickup. She left Impact and
yeah,
came to AEW. Yeah. We haven't been able to speak about
yeah.
that. All right. Well, I'm going to leave you with one last question.
All right. Chameleon.
Next week, Long Island. This is it. Long Island, New York, April 5th, AEW Dynamite. We have the Guns defending their AEW World Tag Team
Oh,
Championships, titles versus career. Do the Guns retain and FTR leaves AEW, or do FTR become two-time AEW World Tag Team Champions? Are they on their way to WWE, or are they staying?
I don't have an answer at this moment in time just because I'm still contemplating it. You
Okay.
know, I might have an answer like the day of, um, but something to consider because they said that FTR, they mentioned in the promo of, hey, if we lose, we're out of AEW, but lo and behold, you still have ROH. So who knows if they want to
That's a good
sign
point
a
from a
contract
technical
for R
standpoint. Yeah.
if they want to sign a contract for ROH, still run their indie stuff, or do they want to go back to WWE? And who knows? Maybe they're the ones that take the belts off of Kevin and Sammy. So I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, who knows? Who knows? Or could it be the Usos? They come in, they show up. Well, it can't be the Raw after Mania because their matches until 2 nights later in Long Island. But they could be on that SmackDown. We'll see what happens. All right, Kev. Well, again, thank you. Did a double dose this week. Came on for NXT Stand and Deliver predictions. Of course, we talked WrestleMania. We got Kevin's predictions there. Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. We got his picks there, as you got mine as well on the fly, and spoke a little bit AEW news as well, and a little bit of Dynamite and where AEW's headed, going into Double or Nothing just 2 months away. All right, my man. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Go get some rest before this very busy weekend. All right, I'm going to try to do the same. Probably unlikely with all I'll have going on, but hey, we live for this, right? So thank you everybody for tuning in to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. That is the Associate. I'm your host, Pat Deneen, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.